It's a chilling thought, winning a prestigious award, and instead of celebrating, you suddenly become a target. That's exactly what happened to Berta Cáceres.
Oh, absolutely. It's a story that's both tragic and incredibly inspiring.
She was an indigenous rights activist in Honduras, and today we're really diving deep into her life, her fearless fight for her community and the environment.
A story that I think really reveals how deeply intertwined environmental protection and human rights really are, because her fight wasn't just about saving trees. It was about safeguarding the lives and culture of the Lenca people.
Right, and those resources are vital to their way of life.
Yeah.
So for those of us maybe not as familiar, who was Berta Cáceres?
Berta was an incredible woman, a powerful voice for the Lenca people, an indigenous group in Honduras. She dedicated her life to defending their land, their resources, often standing up against, really powerful forces that were trying to exploit them.
I can already sense, this incredible courage. What were some of the things that shaped her past? What were some of those influences maybe early on?
Well, her birthplace, La Esperanza, is a place deeply connected to nature, which definitely played a role. But even more so, it was her mother. I mean, imagine this woman, a midwife, a social worker, a mayor, and even a governor.
Wow, talk about a role model. I can see where Berta got her sense of social responsibility, that leadership.
Absolutely. There's even the story about her mother taking in orphaned and abandoned children, giving them a home. And that kind of compassion really shines through. You can see how it would have deeply impacted Berta, her values.
Yeah, for sure. It makes you wonder how those experiences shaped her decision to co-found COPINH in 1993. What was going on at that time that made this organization so crucial?
COPINH, or the Civic Council of Popular and Indigenous Organizations of Honduras, it became central to her activism. And the Lenca people were facing some pretty serious threats to their way of life. Their land was being eyed for mining, logging, and especially hydroelectric dams.
Oh, wow. All those sound like they would have a huge impact on their lives, their culture, their traditions, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Think about it this way. Their whole existence was so connected to the land, their spiritual beliefs, even their ability to sustain themselves, all tied to the resources around them. So these projects, they weren't just environmental issues. They were direct threats to the Lenca people's identity.
That really puts things into perspective. And I'm guessing this is where the Gualcarque River comes in.
Exactly. The Gualcarque River wasn't just a source of water for them, it was sacred. And a massive hydroelectric dam project was proposed, threatening to destroy this river.
So how did Berta and COPINH respond to this?
Well, Berta was not one to back down. She really understood the impact this would have on the Lenca people's way of life. Their spiritual practices, their fishing, their very identity. It would be damaged, maybe beyond repair.
And I'm sensing this wasn't just a peaceful protest.
Right. Berta was fearless. She knew the risks, but she led a blockade, putting herself directly in the path of this project. And you know what? It worked. Construction was halted.
It's incredible, that courage. It's hard to fathom the pressure she must have been under. Were there any consequences to her actions?
Oh, yeah, constantly. Death threats, intimidation, you name it. Imagine being followed, your phone tapped, your house broken into. That was Berta's reality.
It's shocking that protecting a river could lead to such danger. But clearly her efforts were making a difference. How did the world start to take notice?
Her bravery, well, it was impossible to ignore. And it caught the attention of people worldwide. And in 2015, she was awarded the Goldman Environmental Prize.
Wow.
This is a big deal. It recognizes grassroots environmental heroes on an international stage.
That must have been, such a huge moment for her, getting that recognition after everything she'd been through. Did winning this prize change things for her at all?
Oh, it definitely brought a lot of attention to her cause. I mean, the Goldman Prize is a big deal. It's like the Nobel Prize for environmental activism. It put Berta and the Lenca people's struggle on the map.
Yeah, it kind of forced people to pay attention.
Absolutely.
But sadly, this story, it doesn't have a happy ending.
No, it doesn't.
What happened after she won the award?
Tragically, just a year later, in 2016, Berta was assassinated in her own home.
It's hard to believe, that even after all that, the international recognition, she still wasn't safe.
It's a reminder of the risks that these environmental defenders face, especially when they challenge these powerful corporations. Individuals were convicted for her murder, but the question of who was really behind it, well, it still lingers.
It's a chilling thought. It makes you think about the lengths people will go to silence those who threaten their interests. What happened after her death? Did her story just fade away?
Not at all. In fact, you could say her death ignited a global outcry. People all over the world were outraged. They wanted justice for Berta. It really shone a light on the dangers that environmental and land defenders face, especially in Latin America.
So even though it was a tragedy, it kind of amplified her message.
Yeah. It became a rallying cry, a wake-up call about the violence and intimidation these people face just for protecting our planet. Organizations like Global Witness reported a huge increase in the killings of environmental defenders, particularly in, like we said, Latin America.
So it really highlighted that this wasn't an isolated incident.
Exactly.
That's heartbreaking, but also inspiring in a way. Did it lead to any tangible change?
Oh, definitely. The European Union, for instance, adopted a resolution calling for stronger protections for human rights defenders, and that includes environmental activists. And several countries started implementing policies to protect activists and hold corporations accountable.
So even in her death, Berta's legacy continues.
Absolutely.
Pushing for change, greater protection for those on the front lines.
It's a testament to the power of her message and the courage she showed throughout her life.
Her story really resonates, far beyond Honduras. Her name has become synonymous with environmental justice, indigenous rights, and it's a reminder that these issues, they're all connected. Protecting our planet often means protecting the people who depend on it.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
It makes you think, what can we learn from Berta's courage? And how do we apply that to our own lives? Even if we're not, out there leading blockades, what does her legacy mean for everyday people? That's a powerful question to think about. Her story is so inspiring, yet it's hard to imagine ourselves facing such, extreme situations. So how do we connect her fight to our own lives?
Well, I think what's really interesting here is that Berta's legacy isn't just about those grand gestures or winning awards. It's about realizing each of us, all of us, have a role to play. It's about finding our own Agua Zarca River, that thing we're passionate about, that makes us want to stand up and fight for what we believe in.
I love that. It's not about waiting for, some big moment. It's about the choices we make every single day. So what would that look like? What are some examples?
It could be anything, right? Maybe you're passionate about, reducing plastic waste where you live, or you want to support your local farmers, or maybe you're all about advocating for clean energy. Or maybe it's even simpler than that, like educating yourself about the issues and talking to people you know.
Yeah, spreading the word. It's like those small actions, those conversations can all add up to something much bigger.
Exactly. And I think it's about tapping into that courage that Berta had, that willingness to speak up even when it's hard. I mean, she faced so much opposition, but never back down.
It's like we don't have to be a famous activist to make a difference. We can all find those little ways to, be brave and do our part.
Right, and I think by connecting our actions to those values that she fought for, environmental protection, human rights, we become part of her legacy. Keep that story alive.
Her life may have been cut short, but her spirit lives on, through all those she inspired.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up today, we'll leave you with this. What's your Agua Zarca River going to be? What will you champion? And how will you find that courage, like Berta, to make a difference in your own way?
Something to really think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the life and legacy of Berta Cáceres.